Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, boys and girls, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Turrbal people, and to honour elders past and present. This is a wet Australia Day. We haven't had a wet day for a while. We normally have extreme heat, but I'm not too sure about whether or not to appreciate the rain. As far as the ceremony is concerned, I know it's caused a few issues up at the front door, so I'm not too sure what the balance is between extremely hot weather and wet weather, but we deal with what we're given on the day. This Australian citizenship ceremony has been held in conjunction with the Hamilton Rotary Club and the Hamilton Ward Office since 2003. And my predecessor, Tim Nichols, as the councillor, was the original presiding officer. So we've got a bit of a few traditions going, but we do follow the script that is laid out for us by the Department of Immigration. So I think we're doing all the right things. What do we call it? The Department of Citizenship now, I think. Tim opted for a quieter life in state politics in 2006, and I was elected to follow in his footsteps to represent this great area of Brisbane on the north side of the city. And for me, it is one of the highlights of the year, and growing in popularity. I think we have some 52 people who are pledging their citizenship today, and that's a record, I think, for the Hamilton Hall. And I'd like to also to acknowledge my federal colleague, the member for Brisbane, Theresa Gambaro. It's the generosity of the federal government that's allowed this hall to be air-conditioned, which has made it a lot more pleasant in here. Looking at the program, you'll see that there's brief addresses from all of us here on the stage, and I do thank my colleagues from the state government and the federal government for continuing to commit to this ceremony. It does reflect the importance that this ceremony has with the representatives of federal, state and local governments all here to acknowledge your commitment to this great country. I'd like to thank the members of the Hamilton Rotary Club who were here last night and again early this morning to get the hall ready and to prepare the morning tea, which we've moved from the courtyard into the little hall beside us here, so we're welcome to stay and join us for morning tea straight after the ceremony. I'd like to thank those members of the Department of Immigration and Citizenship who are here to make sure everything is being done properly and still registering people up the back, I see. And to my own hard-working behind-the-scenes staff members, Helen and Catherine, who most of you have talked to before being here this morning. Thank you very much to them. My thanks too to Debbie Daly and her singing students from the Ascot State School, and a couple of reams, I think, for that stirring introduction to our proceedings here today. They'll be back a little later to assist us with the national anthem. As presiding officer, and that means I'm the one who has the honour of administering the citizenship pledges a little later, let me say a big thank you to all of you who are choosing to make Australia your home, for choosing Queensland, and to especially congratulate you for making your new homes in the northern suburbs of Brisbane, which I think is the greatest place in Australia to make your home. Those of us, none of us can choose where we're born, but we can have a say about where we choose to live. That includes myself, and I'm pleased you've decided to make this place your home. There are some 20 different countries who are represented here today, from Poland, Nepal, South Africa, the Philippines, the United Kingdom, Ireland, India, Colombia. I think we're Skyping to Colombia, aren't we? Are we Skyping at the moment? Hello, Colombia. New Zealand, Malaysia, Iran, Ecuador, Zimbabwe, Japan, France, Brazil, Korea, Indonesia, Canada and Moldova. I think Moldova is represented here for the first time, so fantastic. Great to see you all here. I know it's not an easy decision to say I'm going to make Australia home, and then to make this decision to say I want to be known as an Australian. This is a part of some over 400 ceremonies, I understand. Maybe it's up to about 450 ceremonies across the country, where some 17,000 people are today making that decision to be known as Australians. And for many looking at Australia from afar and contemplating the move, it must be hard, I believe, to reconcile the often projected image of Australians as blonde-haired, blue-eyed surfies with the reality of the multicultural society that Australia has thankfully become, and where we all get along in relative harmony. And if you've been parachuted in this week and took all your references from TV advertising, you'd be forgiven for thinking that This Day Australia Day is all about lamb chops and cheap plonk from the bottle opener. I'll throw you a bit of Australian lingo there, inexpensive alcohol from the bottle shop. That'd be, I reckon, enough to put most people off from wanting to become an Australian. But the reality is that conformity of that projected image is not expected. We don't expect, becoming an Australian citizen does not mean renouncing the things you cherish from your own culture and upbringing. Although I'll confess I did give up the Robbie Burns celebrations last night, the great Scottish celebration of haggis and whiskey, in the interest of being sober here this morning. And we're all looking forward now, I'm sure, to a Scot winning the Australian Open after last night's Australian Open, if anybody was up to watch that. We don't ask that you wrap yourself in the Australian flag, but we do ask that you respect the things that it represents, our laws and the democratic principles on which our nation is founded. Taking out Australian citizenship is more than a passport and the chance to vote at local, state and federal elections. It represents a commitment to the values we share and our common future, to the idea of a fair go for everyone, whatever their background. I thank you for being here today and for choosing Australia Day to become an Australian citizen. It is a great day on which to make that commitment. I'll be back here soon for the more formal part of administering the citizenship pledges, and after which you'll be called up individually or by family group to receive your citizenship certificates and some of the other things we here have for you. Just a word about the plants here. These are for those who have made the pledge today, as a tradition of this ceremony, to provide you with an Australian native plant to go and plant in your garden or keep on your balcony as a memento, a memory of your day here today, and hopefully it will flourish and continue to remind you of this day and being an Australian citizenship, being made an Australian citizen on this day. I wanted a little bit of in-house stuff. I wanted the poinsettia, which is the Brisbane Council floral emblem, but it's actually an imported plant. It's an immigrant too, which may have been symbolic, but we've plonked for the Australian native violet, and I think it's a great plant and will be a representation for all time of your time here today. Thank you very much.